I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you that have been able to actually attend this session with us. We hope that from this session, we'll be able to actually get a few insights on what the library has done to be able to actually prompt to populate the HBKU repository, and to be able to give you, like, for example, how you can be able to actually upload items to the repository, what you can load, what you can archive to the repository, compliance issues that you have to actually take into consideration. And I think there will also be a practical session where my colleague will be able to actually show you how you can actually upload the items to our repository. Before we go any further, I would like to take this opportunity to first of all introduce myself. My name is Fidelity. I'm a librarian here at the HBKU Library, and currently I'm in charge of the HBKU Repository. And today, joining me on this session is two colleagues from QNL. I'll take this opportunity to allow themselves to introduce themselves to you before I can carry on with the presentation. Dr. Al-Walid, please, you can introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Al-Walid. I'm the head of open access and copyright at Qatar National Library, and I'm very excited to be here today to talk to you about Manara. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alenka. I worked in the QNL at the Digital Collections Department, and one of my responsibility is to look out for the repository structure, and I will also guide you through the practical parts of this workshop.
Thank you very much, Dr. Al-Walid. Thank you very much, Alenka, for your introduction. For my part today, I'll basically give an overview of the HBKU repository, for what we have done so far and what we've achieved, and I'll give you like a brief guidelines on how you can create an account on Manara. So allow me at this point in time to share my presentation with you. So my presentation basically is about maximizing the research impact of the HBKU repository. And as I introduced myself, my name is Fidelity. I'm a librarian at HBKU, and I'm the one in charge of managing the HBKU repository. So I just wanted to give you a background information of how the repository began. I think in early last year in 2024, the HBKU signed an agreement with QNL to host the HBKU repository on Manara. This was actually done so that we can be able to increase the impact of the research output of HBKU, because before then we did not have our own repository where faculty, students, and researchers can archive, for example, like open access publications, data sets, poster presentation. All this information is not archived anywhere. So this agreement gave us an opportunity to be able to actually have a platform where our community can be able to deposit these items. Yes, and then and in Manara, I'm not going to talk so much, but we have certain items that you can be able to upload. I think Alenka will talk about it more in our presentation. But basically, after we signed the agreement between, I think, January and October, we worked on a project to try and populate the repository, and we've made great success. I'll share with you shortly the statistics on the numbers and items that we've actually archived and uploaded to the repository. I also wanted to share with you, for example, in terms of why we as a library view the repository as an important actually platform for our community. The first one, for example, is we want to enhance the institution visibility. In this case, we want to show the entirety of the HBKU research output. This gives us a platform to be able to put together all the items, all the research publications that is done by HBKU, and it can be found in one place. And this, by doing so, we are able to actually contribute to the institutional reputation, because with academic institutions, you have to show your impact in terms of what you are publishing. So this gives us a platform to be able to actually showcase what HBKU has been able to publish over a number of years. The other one is to improve access. We want to ensure that we're able to provide access to actual resources that could be otherwise hidden. When we say otherwise hidden, we mean, for example, like conference proceedings that are not archived anywhere. We're talking about posters, we're talking about data sets. All these resources will not be visible if they are not actually archived elsewhere. So the repository provides a very, very important platform for the Invest community to actually archive these resources. We also preserve items that are at risk of loss, because if you don't have them in the repository, they might be in people's emails, in people's shared drive. Once they leave HBKU, this information is lost forever. So the archive, the repository gives us this platform to be able to actually preserve and improve access to these resources. And of course, another reason could be fostering collaboration. Right now, we've brought together people from the library, from the research community within HBKU, the faculty, to be able to discuss, I think, an item of mutual interest, which is to be able to archive and preserve and provide access to the HBKU research output. So this is why the library takes great interest into managing and having resources archived into the HBKU repository. What have we done so far? Working with QNL, we've been able to actually upload journal articles from Cyber and Web of Science, and these have already been uploaded on our repository. They're able to be accessed. But of course, these journals that have been accessed, that have been uploaded in our repository are open access, allowing the repository to be able to actually publish them on our repository. We also have the thesis. We have a project right now. We're still uploading theses that have been published by HBKU students. We've done from 2022 to 2023, but now we are working on a project from 2017 to 2021. So already these items have been uploaded to Manara, and shortly I'll show you how the statistics are looking like. Just 1 minute. So this is a breakdown so far of the items that have been uploaded to Manara. You can see journal contributions. As I said, we have, for example, like the journal articles that I talked about from Cyber and Web of Science. These you can see are like the majority of the items that have been uploaded to Manara. You have the thesis right now, almost coming into second. But I just wanted to give you an idea so far of what is in Manara. So this is a breakdown of the items that have been uploaded to Manara. Then I'll show you briefly the views. You can see, like, after we signed the agreement with QNL in January last year, and when we began uploading the journal articles, you can see like the views, like we're able to increase. So this shows that what we are doing has an impact on the people that are using the repository. And we're hoping that after this meeting, we can be able to actually build on this, and we can have more items being uploaded to Manara. And then same applies with the downloads. It's the same thing. After we began uploading items to Manara, you can see a spike in the downloads of the items that people were downloading from the repository. Who can publish in the repository? Right now, only HBKU affiliated staff, researchers, faculty, or students can upload items to Manara or to the HBKU repository. there are two ways we can do this. We can have a batch upload, or individual faculty members, researchers, students can be able to actually register their intention to have an account on Manara, and then an account will be created for them. And I'll show you briefly the procedures and the steps that you have to take to be able to actually register your account to Manara to be able to upload. So I just wanted to show you on our website where you can go to be able to get to our repository. We have on our webpage the HBKU Repository, and we have like to submit your publications. Please follow these instructions. And on the lower screen here, you have now like an interface to the HBKU Repository. But now what I will do is I'll take you briefly to the repository, to our LibGuide, and show you how you can create an account. But hopefully I can run through this quickly so that I don't take most of your time. So this is our LibGuide, and it has all the information you need about HBKU Repository, how to deposit. I'll go straight to there. And then we have a guide on what you're supposed to do to be able to actually deposit your items to Manara. The first thing that you have to do is to be able to create an account. So you create an account by clicking on this link. Once you click on this link, you'll be able to you send that email to the Manara team, and then they'll be able to actually create an account for you. So once you send the request, you receive email to activate your account. Basically, this is the information that you receive, and you are asked to reset your password. From there, you come on the login page, click on forget, and this is what you see. Like, you can forget your password. You get another notification that now will allow you to reset your password. So you reset your password. Once you reset your password, you are good to go, and then you can be able to actually log in. And once you log into the platform where you are supposed to upload your items, this is what you would see. So in the event that there are challenges that you have, we have contact details here. You can contact the Manara team, you can contact me, and we can be able to actually help you with the challenges that you might be facing. So basically, I think from my end, I think this is what I had to share with you. Then I'll leave it to Dr. Walid to cover the compliance issues and copyright issues. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. So I'll talk very briefly about copyright issues and compliance when it comes to researchers, faculty, and staff from HBKU, or in general when using Manara. And what I'll be presenting are just general concepts, but just to guide you on what needs to be done, but also referencing terms and conditions of the platform. So before I start about talking about the terms and conditions and kind of any restrictions or kind of how to do this, I want to talk about briefly about copyright in scholarly communications. So we're all at the same stage. So when faculty members, students, staff create a scholarly communication work, you have the copyright over the work. And what copyright means is that you have control over how the work is used, including any commercial use, how it's distributed or communicated. And the term is life of the author plus 50 years. And this is in Qatar. And the term is different from one country to another. But since we're in Qatar, we have to follow the Qatar copyright law. So when you create your scholarly work, you may be presenting it or providing copies of it or submitting it to different locations or institutions. So you may be, if you're a student, you may be giving a copy of your thesis to the university. If you want to publish in a journal or a book, you may be submitting it to a publisher. You may be adding, let's say, a poster, conference proceedings, preprint data set to your repository. You may be submitting something to a conference organizer, or you may be submitting a copy to the research funder, depending on who's funding your research and if there are any mandates to deposit in a repository. Now, when it comes to different ways of doing this, let's say traditional publishing or traditional way is where you have a copyright assignment. And this is what we refer to as an exclusive license. So what you do here is you give, submit or give a copy to one of those different locations, And they are now basically the controller of the copyright. The rights are exclusive to them. And in many cases, they are, for example, a publisher would be able to decide what can be done, what can be deposited, what can be published, and not the author any longer. There may be some publishers who give authors certain conditions where they can use the work internally, but rarely ever to publish. And the same thing may apply to different kind of locations. So, for example, if you go to a conference, they may say, okay, once you submit the abstract to us, it's theirs and they have control over it. It's an exclusive license. But there are, of course, other ways where you may be giving a permission to use or you're licensing the work to them. And this is what we refer to as non-exclusive licensing. And this is what open access typically is. So you'd be submitting to a publisher a non-exclusive license, and then you retain your copyright and they have permissions to publish. So these are just 2 points I want to clarify. Now, I'm not going to go into different all the different licenses, but this is something that we could explore in different or future workshops, or there are many resources online. So Creative Commons licenses are the go-to, basically now the standard for non-exclusive licensing, and what this is basically typically used in publishing, including what in Manara. So when you submit something, you're able to choose one of those licenses. And they go from basically liberal licenses, such as the CC-BY, to licenses that prevent commercial or derivative use. And there's a link here that I would recommend for those who want to know more and how to select a license, they could choose that. Or they can go to this link. But when it comes to the HBKU Repository in Manara, there are certain things that we would like you to kind of consider. Based on what I discussed or what I presented, you need to ask the question, are you the copyright holder? Are you the one who created the work and therefore have the copyright? Have you published the work previously? And if yes, have you given the other party an exclusive license? Have you assigned copyright to them? And does this license allow for depositing into a repository? And are there any restrictions to the deposit, such as, for example, publishers would say, okay, you could publish your work on the repository after an embargo period of 2 years. So these are the things that researchers, staff, and faculty need to think about. And of course, the library, both HBKU and us, will more happy to help guide. But this is the things that you need to consider. Now, if you published previously under a non-exclusive license, you need to know what was the license and if there are any restrictions. For example, if you submit it to a conference, are you able to then publish the proceedings or the poster or the presentation on your repository? Now, when it comes to terms and conditions on Manara itself, anybody who's depositing on Manara is basically agreeing to the following rules. By submitting to Manara, the HBKU repository, you state that the submission is your original work and that you have the right to grant the rights contained in your selected license in your deposit to Manara, which basically translates to you are the copyright holder and you have the right to publish or deposit in the repository. Also, if the submission contains any content that you don't have copyright over, for example, if you use images from any other source, or if you have data from another source which has its own copyright, then you agree that you have taken the permission or the required permission from the copyright owner to add this content to the work and therefore are able to publish in the repository. Also, by agreeing on to use the repository, you agree that not to deposit any sensitive, restricted, or legally protected data unless you have previously agreed in writing of course, with the repository team, and of course, have gone through the copyright permissions, if applicable. Now, I want to talk very briefly about self-archiving or preprints, which is green open access. Now, what self-archiving is of research articles is basically the practice of depositing earlier version of the final article. So let's say you published in a journal and the PDF is online. Now the PDF is behind the paywall, so you can't actually go and put in the deposit into the repository. But what you can do is some publishers will allow for the submitted version, which is before peer review, or the author accepted manuscript, which is after peer review, to be deposited. And by doing self-archiving or practicing self-archiving, you're actually making copies or making open access versions of the articles that are behind paywalls. This would increase kind of the impact of your work and allow for more visibility. Of course, ideally, everything would be open access, but of course, there are many different restrictions or limitations. Now, what authors, researchers, and whoever has the article, the authors need to follow the journal policies on which license to use, where they could publish, and if there's an embargo period. Now, on Manara itself, when you do submit, and I think that's something we'll see later on, there is a tool called Check Publisher Open Access Policy under Item Actions. And what this allows you to do is, and I use this as an example, emergent materials from Springer Nature, which is one of the most high in demand publications in Qatar from QNL's perspective. When you search on Manara, it would tell you the following information. Like say the accepted version can be published 12 months. So this is the version after peer review, before the final PDF is created. It can be added to the repository after 12 months. You have to use the publisher license, which is basically means that you have to say in copyright. And then you have other conditions such as linking back to, and there's a whole list of conditions underneath beyond the screenshot. Now, if you want to have more information about this, we also suggest going to the Open Policy Finder. This is the database that the repository uses to gather information, but directly to the Open Policy website, you can search the journal name. And what the benefit of it here is that you actually get more links. So you can directly link, in this case, to Springer Nature's self-archiving policy, terms of use, etc., that could guide you into choosing the right license. So just very briefly on summarizing, keep this in mind as a takeaway message. Sorry, something is wrong. We'll share the slides, but basically, oh, sorry, something is off. Yeah, always think about what is, sorry, can you see my slides, or is that still going? Yes. Something is weird with just think about, you're the copyright holder. You have the permissions to publish on the repository. And if there's any doubt, please contact the library, HBKU Library, and they could help you figure out this information. But Manara itself does have a tool that will allow you to kind of discover this yourself. And that's really it for my slide. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Al-Walid, for that insightful contribution on copyright issues. I think this is a very important, aspect. We've had, sometimes people like say they've submitted to Manara and it has been rejected. Probably these are issues that they have to be aware of, and I think this is very important that they know that despite it being open access, there are other issues that have to deal with copyright, and they have to be aware about this. Thank you very much for that insightful contribution. I now give it over to Alenka to show us more on how you can actually now upload items to Manara.
Hello, everyone. I will now share my screen.
There is one question, Fidelity. Not yet.
Sorry, yes, there is a question?
Yes, it was a raised hand, but not anymore.
Oh, okay. I didn't see it. Sorry, my apologies. Is it somebody, Ira? Or should we first present and then raise the question at the end? It would be better that way.
Also, yeah.
Yeah. Ira, sorry, can we do the questions at the end so that we can give Alenka time to just run through the presentation and then we can have the questions answered at the end? Or you can type in the chat question section and then we can answer that one also. It could be another way we can do it. Thank you. Okay. Alenka, you can go ahead. Thank you very much.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can see it. Yes.
Okay, so for any participant that doesn't have Manara account yet, it can go to the lower ribbon and click on researcher registration, and then follow the link and register as a researcher by sending an email and just state I would like to create a Manara account. So this is how Manara looks like when you are logged in. And then on the far right corner, there is a profile icon when you can set and manage your profile. You can upload your picture, you can connect your ORCID account, and you can describe your research profile, and you can also manage your bibliography. Then the second one is settings, where you can change your email and password. Then if you go to My Data, here you will see your account container. Now mine is loading because it's quite full, but yours will be empty. So then on the top you have 4 ribbons. One is activity. Here you will receive notifications from the admins, like in case if you will request more storage. By default, every user gets 1 gigabyte of free space. Then you can also build collections. Let's say that you have organized a conference and you would like to collect all the individual posters and conference contribution under one collection. You can manage the collection in this section. Then the second menu is project. Now this section is meant to be as a dashboard to collaborate with other registered fixture or Manara repository users. And then finally, which is the section that you are going to be most working with, is My Data. So then under the My Data tab, you can click on Create New Item. Okay, and now the form will appear in the draft version. So the form is basically divided into 3 parts. First part is the container where you drag your files. And in this section, we are encouraging you to not just upload the main item, like a journal contribution, poster, or presentation, but also supplementary materials as well. That could be, for example, data lab measurements, or you have many maybe additional spread charts or images. You can all browse for files in your system or drag them into these containers. So we would encourage you to upload the files instead of going to the link to the external email address, like maybe your research is published on some other website. So we can include the link here, but then we will not have the original files. So one of the things is also that Manara is not just the repository, but we are also digitally preserving your files and data so that we assure their usability over the lifespan. And then the second option is that you can, for example, if you do not have the item, but you have the metadata, you can also upload just the metadata record. But however, we do encourage you to add files and folders. Then in the far left side, there is one section called Item Actions. So Previously in the chat, there was a question if we can use the repository public or privately. Here, for example, you can set embargo. So, for example, you can publish an item, but an item will not be seen. I mean, you will not be able to enter the item, but the item will be published maybe with just a thumbnail with embargo period. So here you can adjust what is the embargo period. It can be permanent, it can be time defined. Then also, if you uploaded the items, but you still didn't publish them, you can share them with your colleagues by the private link. Then under the Manage Identifiers, this is the section where you place your DOI. DOI stands for Digital Object Identifier. So if the item was previously published, it has a DOI. So you would select pre-existing. But if you would like to upload poster, presentation, image, meaning the item that was not previously published, then you just select a DOI and reserve the DOI. And then it will assign a Manara DOI. It will not be a DOI issued by the DOI organization, but from the Manara repository. In the edit timeline, here at the bottom, you can enter the publication date. So that is the date that your research was published or presented at a conference. You can add a custom thumbnail, but automatically the fixture, Manara repository will generate the thumbnail from the one of the pages that you have uploaded. And then in the last part, you can check the open access publisher policy. You can search by journal. So then you can make sure that your journal and your research was published as open access. Then if we move on to the third part of the forum, there are the metadata fields. So if you see that every field that is marked with the asterisk, with the red asterisk, it's a mandatory field. So what does this mean? This means that these fields must be filled out in order for you to save changes and submit to review. So you will include the item title. You will not see this part, the change institution, because I have the admin account. So this your institution will be assigned to you in the review part. Then another mandatory field is item type. Here you can select what is the item type that you will be uploading and publishing. So you can have book, preprint, chapter, conference contribution. You can select from this drop-down menu. And then by each field, you have inbuilt tooltip that will explain to you what does the certain field ask of you and what is required. So this is a nice guide and help. Then authors, I would encourage you to use a form of the name that you have registered with, because sometimes we come across of different name variations. Some are full names, some are with initials. So I would really advise to be consistent with the name that you use, either full name or stick to one form, I would say. Then the next field is categories. Here you can categorize your field of research. So for example, it will say that we have engineering, civil engineering. We also have another level, but this level should serve as a support so that you can more clearly match your science field to the categories. And then keywords, if it usually keywords are present on the journal contributions, but you can list the keywords on your own based on your research summary. In the description part, we are uploading a short description, or from journal contribution, it is an abstract. For the funding field, you see it's not mandatory, but in the review process, we are listing the funding made from the Qatar National Research Fund. So you can include the funding if your research got a grant from or from the grant body. In the related materials, you can include the ISSN number, or if or in case you have some parts of the research that are that were published in many sections, you can link it here. Then another mandatory field is license. The Dr. Al-Walid was talking about in his presentation, and here you can select the copyright license. If it's not available from the publisher side, you can use this tool, Chooser, Creative Commons Chooser. It will ask you a few questions, and then the system will generate the appropriate license for you. I will drop all of these tools in the chat so that you will be able to use the tools. And then here, enter the language in which your research was conducted. We have cases when we have bilingual research. So for that, you can, for example, if you move now on the top, you can enter an Arabic title here. I forgot to tell before that we have full Arabic support. So you can easily enter Arabic title. And then if you move back down, there is an alternative title, so you can enter another language. Publisher, you can enter a publisher in case your research was published. Publication year, you can choose it should be matching the publication date year. And then license statement, it will be provided from the institutional reviewer. And now in the institution affiliated with field, here is the place where you define from which institution are you. So you would usually enter Hamad bin Khalifa University and college. The College of Law, or Qatar Biomedical Institute. And then the other fields, you can enter methodology link, the temporal coverage, if there is a date, if there is a specific date in your title or you're covering a certain time period, geographical coverage in case you are researching one geographical part, you can enter the geographic name, and you can also enter your related research work. So for that, I will introduce another tool. For that, you can use Crossref. And for example, Here I have one article, and you can go to Action, click on Cite, and get the APA citation. We are usually using the APA citation. And you just copy the citation and put it here, for example. The same for the data set. You can generate the citation, or you can copy it from another repository. And now these last fields, our colleagues have developed for the purpose for publishing pieces. So here we have alternative title in case the research is bilingual, degree date, degree type, advisors, committee members, department programs. And when you have completed all the fields that are mandatory, you save changes and submit an item for the review. So that should be a short walkthrough how using Manara should be from the researcher's point of view. So I think now we are open for questions.
Thank you very much, Alenka, for this demonstration. I think now we are open for questions. If there's anyone who has a question, please can we ask? Or have all the questions been taken care of in the Q&A? Yes, please. I think there was a question, I think, from, I don't know if it's been answered from Dr. Faiz. She's saying, how does Manara differ from other repositories, e.g. ResearchGate? Dr. Al-Walid.
Okay. So ResearchGate is a social, it's called social media network. I mean, you can upload content on there. Yes, it's easier to do this, but there are certain limitations. The repository, your repository, the HBKU repository, has different goals. Not only by capturing the data or allowing you to upload the content on it, but one thing that's really important is digital preservation. By uploading your content to the HBKU repository, the HBKU repository and the HBKU library will ensure that your content is there consistently over time, which is not the same thing with ResearchGate or other social media platforms. Now, the thing is with ResearchGate, there's also some copyright restrictions. ResearchGate has also had some issues where authors could upload something that is in copyright, which cause a lot of issues with the authors and the publishers. Now, with the HBKU repository, there is that check. So I believe once you upload your content in there, the library team will be checking if everything is correct. So basically making sure that anything that goes online on the repository is actually legally possible to do so. I mean, these are just the two kind of top of my head issues. Yes, of course, ResearchGate may be easier as from an interface, but that's their business model. Instagram is easier as well, but doesn't mean it's the best location for you. Also, the other thing is that in ResearchGate, when somebody wants to access the article, they may have to log in, register, or sometimes contact the author. With the HBKU repository, everything is supposed to be there at the click of a button. So as much as ease of use is there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Walid, for that response. Any other questions, please, so that we answer them? But please just, is a question? Okay, there's another question. Let me check from the Q&A. It says, if I lose my HBK email, or if I'm no longer HBK staff, do I lose access to Manara? Like, if, for example, somebody stops being HBKU staff, do they lose access to Manara? I don't think. What you might lose is the ability to deposit items into Manara, but you can still be able to access Manara. Manara is an open platform for anyone to access. So in terms of access, you still be able to access Manara, but what you cannot do is deposit as a researcher or someone that belongs to the HBKU community. I think that is just the only difference. Otherwise, you can access, but you might not deposit. I hope that answers the question. Any other questions that we have for me, Dr. Walid and Alenka? Let me see, there's one more. As a graduating student, I would like to ask if uploading my thesis on Manara is a requirement, and also if this replaces uploading on ProQuest. Okay, so as it is right now, there's no, I can answer that one. You are not mandated to upload to Manara. What you're supposed to do is to upload to ProQuest. Then at a later stage, the HBKU library is going to harvest these theses from ProQuest and upload them to Manara. Until such a time when the university decides to shift from ProQuest to Manara, then students will be expected to upload to Manara, but to HBKU Repository. For now, the policy is that you upload to ProQuest. So this is the requirement. So for now, please, this ProQuest is not on Manara. Thank you very much. Any other questions, please? There's a hand raised. Yes, please. Just one moment.
Hi, Assalamu alaikum. This question was complicated, so I thought of asking without chatting. So can I ask the question?
Yes, please go ahead, ma.
Thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. I have a question about the data. As Dr. Walid mentioned, that we can upload the data and just as we upload other research items. So using Manara as a data repository, for example, now when I'm submitting my journals, my papers to the journals, I use WeTransfer or I use other data repository where I upload my data and I create a link. And then upon submitting my manuscript, it asks me, does your research includes the data? And then I say yes, and then I have to provide a link, URL or DOI, whatever. So can I use Manara in a way to do that? Because when I do that, I have to make sure that the journal during the peer review process can actually access the link and they will be able to see the data. So can I do that in Manara, or is it restricted? For example, if I provide the link to the peer review process, can they see the link? Thank you.
Dr. Walid, or is it Alenka that can answer this?
Yeah, for sure. If you remember, I will share my screen. In the related material part, you can link. You can insert the link to the data, either here or in the description field. So yes, it is possible. I hope I understood the question correctly.
May I add a comment? Dr. Bishra, my understanding of the question is that you want to upload the data on a repository, and then when you submit to a publisher, you want to provide a link to that data as part of the publication process or the requirements of that journal. If that's what the question is, then yes, you could upload the data on by itself on Manara. You would get a DOI and a hyperlink that you can use for the submission process. This, for example, many researchers are using Zenodo to do this, and Manara in this case would function as the same. It's even better because you're 100% sure that HBKU is within HBKU. You don't have to do it again in the future, and you also get kind of more support from the HBKU library.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bush, for your question, and Dr. Reed for your response. Any other questions so that we can wrap up the presentation, or the session rather? If there are no any other questions, please, we are still available. You please can get in touch with me. You can get in touch with the Manara team, and we can be able to answer your questions even after this session. Please feel free to reach out to us. Otherwise, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for attending this session. We are very grateful that you took your valuable time to come and actually be with us. And also, I'd like to thank Dr. Al-Walid and Alenka for their contributions to this session. And we look forward to future engagements with the HBKU community with regards to the HBKU repository. Otherwise, I would like to take this opportunity again and thank all of you for attending. Thank you very much. We really appreciate your coming here and your contributions.
Thank you, Fidelity. Thank you for the HBKU Library.
Thank you very much. Thank you.